my channel. So for today's video I'm going to be talking about OSCEs. If you are a nurse, a doctor, anyone in medicine, you tend to sit OSCEs to prove that you can practically apply your knowledge. But I can only speak from a vet nurse point of view, as that is what I am studying. So everyone that has done OSCEs, heard of OSCEs, will know how dreadful they are. They are the most horrible exam. Well, before you sit them, they're the most horrible exam. When you pass them, that is like the moment you are like, yeah, I can do anything. You feel so accomplished when you pass them. So I passed my OSCEs on the second attempt, which is absolutely fine, nothing to be ashamed of if you do not pass first time. So I'm going to give you like my top tips for OSCEs, because I know how daunting they are and scary they are, and they literally tell you whether you are going to be a nurse or not. There's only so many attempts you can take before you're basically told you can't continue with the course. I think that's your fourth attempt. I could be wrong, so don't hold me to that. But I do know a couple of people that have unfortunately not been able to continue because they do fall under pressure. So it's really important that obviously you find the best revision techniques for you. But I'm going to tell you what helped me with my OSCE prep and how I revise basically in my top tips. So if you are doing, or you're due to take, or you have done your OSCEs, you will have had the OSCE book with all the tasks you had to learn. So I would show you mine, but I actually don't have it with me because when I passed my OSCEs, I actually gave it to someone else because I had all my notes in that I had made to help her pass her OSCEs. So I can't unfortunately show you what it looks like, but every university has a different one depending on who they are doing the OSCEs through, whether they have their own OSCE marking scheme, etc, etc. Basically, you have this book and you have to learn the tasks off by heart. There are grey steps and there are white steps. The white steps are your smaller steps. The white steps are your least important steps, your smaller steps. Basically, they're not least important, that's probably the wrong word, but they are your smaller steps. And then your grey steps are, if you do not do that step, you fail it, you fail that whole task. So it's really important that you do know the steps and that you do follow them through in a logical way. I found that I actually did a practice OSCEs, fortunately for me. I failed a few of the smaller steps, which led to me failing that task because those smaller steps add up to a big grey step. So do not be alarmed if you failed a task because you failed the white steps. So many of those white steps do add up to that grey step, which is what you automatically would fail the task on anyway. So just keep that in mind when you are taking your OSCEs, that you do need to really knuckle down and learn the steps really well. I failed my first time on silly little things. So that was resheathing a needle. You know, when you're in practice, you tend to pop the needle and syringe out without undoing it properly. Because it's a lot quicker and it saves time. But in your OSCEs, if you do that, you will fail. And also, what else did I fail on? It was stupid stuff like I forgot to turn on the regulator when I'd finished my fluid therapy step. Just little things like that. Someone I know did forget to open the valve on her anaesthetic, which means if the valve is closed, you basically would have killed that patient because it's not, there's nothing circulating for that patient to breathe, basically. So everyone does fail steps. It is very common. If you have got 100%, then well done, because that is very hard to get. Again, it does depend on your marker and who is watching you. My tip number one is to read the steps like the back of your hand. Learn those steps. Every single task, learn those steps. I didn't do that in my first OSCE, and I really regret not doing it in my first OSCE. I just presumed I knew it. I did not. I worked hard to try and like learn it, but it's really hard to learn, and I just sort of thought, oh, well, if I miss that step, it doesn't really matter, when actually it really does. So learn your steps. Second time round, I read the book like the back of my hand. I made cue cards on every single step of every single task and flipped through them every single day, learning them like the back of my hand. This way you can actually, in your head, logically go through every step. I don't know if I used the right word there, but you can go through every step and know that you've done it because you've read the task that way, so you know that you've done every step and that you've not missed anything. So yeah, that would definitely be my first point. Just read the book, read it every single night, you know, learn a couple of tasks each day to break it down for you. Number 2 would be to, when you have like read the book like the back of your hand, I feel like that's probably annoying people that I'm saying that, but I really mean it, like learn it. Once you've learned it, you can then do it practically. So most people get practical sessions with their university or college, depending where they go. I did anyway. I got so many hours to cram in some practical sessions as I was not in practice at the time. It was really useful, and because I'd learned the book, I could then use those practical sessions to just apply what I'd learned to see if I missed anything out and to see where I need to polish up on and things like that. So use your practical sessions really wisely. Make sure you learn that book. If you're not sure of your steps, then firstly start off by using your book to go through each step practically, and then once you know where you're going wrong, take the book away and try and remember it without the book, because at the end of the day you aren't going to have that book in your OSCE. So like I said before, just keep repeating without the OSCE book until you know it by heart, because that is the most important thing, because like I said before, you will not have that OSCE book in your exam. I don't know what step I'm on, but I will put a little pointer somewhere on the screen to see what step we're on. But my next point would be to make a schedule. This is something I didn't do in my first exam, and I wish I had, because I wouldn't have to retake it, I don't think. But basically, I made a schedule the second time round where I made sure I did certain tasks on certain days. I live with other girls that are also nurses, so my friend and I went downstairs and cracked out those tasks each day that we'd scheduled in for those days. If you have a job, it can be slightly more difficult. I didn't have a job at the time, so I was literally free to revise 24/7. If you do have a job, there's still a way around it, you know, just evenings, mornings, lunch breaks, etc. So we would say we wanted to go over fluid therapy, we'd do fluid therapy and one other, so say fluid therapy and injections. And what we would do is I would go through it, she would test me, and then vice versa. So actually it's actually a really good way of learning, because not only was I doing it, but I was listening to her do it, so I knew what steps she was missing and then I would feed back to her and she would do the same for me. So if you have anyone to work with, then definitely do that. But the point in the schedule is to make sure that you're not cramming everything in at once. You are able to learn it throughout your time you've got before your OSCE exam. So basically, just split up each OSCE task, put them into categories, and make sure each day you do at least one of those categories. And if you get a step wrong, go back over it. Do not just put it aside and say, oh, I get that next time. Make sure you go back over it, because again, first time round, when I first sat my OSCEs, I didn't do that. I just knew where I went wrong. I didn't actually act on it and I didn't change anything. I just thought I would be fine in my OSCEs, and I wasn't, because I made those same mistakes. So the second time round, I made sure I didn't put down my OSCE book or my cue cards until I I could do it all without making a mistake. So literally I would sit there with my cue cards, I would keep them closed, and I would say each step and check every step as I go. And then at the end, if I got any wrong, I would redo it. And if I had my friend there, then she would be the one flipping through the cards so that I can't cheat or accidentally see something I shouldn't have done, or miss a step, etc. So a schedule is a really good way to manage your time and just make sure that you're not using your time in the wrong way, and making sure that you're using it wisely, because at the end of the day, your OSCEs will come around really fast. I know some people are sitting them in October, I'd like to say. October. So just make sure that from now onwards you are using that time wisely and are making a schedule, because it will really help you. It really helped me. Also, if you're not able to go into university because of COVID, so when I started sitting my second time round, so our OSCEs were actually meant to be September, which I'm so relieved that they weren't, because honestly, I've got them out of the way and I'm so happy. But my resit was supposed to be September, and because of COVID, they brought it forward to June, and we had 4 weeks to revise when before it was 3 months. And I tell you what, I've never worked so hard in my life. I worked so hard to pass those OSCEs, because 4 weeks really isn't very long. And like I said before, I thought I had a lot longer, so the pressure was on for everyone in my class, and anyone else's OSCEs that got brought forward. So yeah, that was a bit of a shock for me personally, because I take longer to learn, and I did email a few people to see if there's any way I can get extra practical time, and there wasn't. So I actually made an effort to go to my placement practice, where I was able to get some bits to take home and play with for my OSCEs. So I don't know, fluids and things that they weren't using, I was able to utilise them and use them for my fluid therapy tasks. Injections, I just had a syringe and needle and would put the syringe and needle on as you would, and just carry out that task as if I was doing it practically in the exam. The other thing that really helped me was having a toy dog. Now, the toy dogs that you actually get, or whatever toy it is you get in your exam, could be a cat, it could be a horse, it depends on what route you're taking, or whether you're equine or small animal. When I took mine, they were really heavy, so I wanted one that was as alike to that as possible, and something that was just useful, if that makes sense. So I went ahead and followed the trend, and I got an OSCE dog from IKEA. IKEA sell these like golden retrievers, I think they're called. Are they golden retrievers or Labradors? I can't remember. I gave mine away because someone else needed it, and I wanted him to get the best use he could. And then there's like Huskies and stuff, and if you buy one of those, they are so good to practice bandaging, injections, fluid therapy. I did everything on that dog, and I swear down, without having a toy dog, I don't think I would have passed, because I wouldn't have been able to like do my x-ray positioning with it and stuff. So it really helped me, and I passed my x-ray positioning, which is the one I thought I would fail on, with 100%, so that was really good. So if you can get your hands on an OSCE dog, then do. Like I said, they're from IKEA. Mine was about £25, but that was for delivery as well, and delivery from IKEA is not cheap. So if you can go into an IKEA and get one, then go for it. But I do know that on student pages, they do sell them, like used ones. So if you can grab your hands on one, then do, because it will really help you, as it helped me loads. But yeah, to be honest, I think that is it. All I can say is just knuckle down, read your book, make revision cards. I probably spent, honestly, so many hours at night making these cue cards to try and get them out of the way, so that in the day I could use them to revise, and without those I think I would have been screwed. It's all well and good having your OSCE book, but you can't flip through them the same way as you would cue cards and things. The first time I didn't try as hard as I did the second time. I did try really hard the first time, but I definitely can see I didn't try as hard as I did the second time. The second time I really knuckled down, and that is what my life revolved around, was OSCEs, because I really wanted to pass. Me and my friend were in the same boat. We both really wanted to pass, and now that I've passed, I feel like I have just, a weight has lifted, because I have shown clearly that I am capable of doing the OSCE tasks and the skills that a nurse must be able to do in practice. There is certain times when you're like, oh, I've not used this before, but use your common sense, you know, look at YouTube videos. I've never used any of these different circuits before. I was used to the Humphrey ADE circuit, so that is literally one circuit, whereas other places will have multiple circuits for different sizes of animal and different weights. So for instance, I actually looked at YouTube videos at those circuits so that I knew how to put them together and how to use them, because I was so used to using just the one circuit. To utilise what you can. So I've just seen the postman and I want to know if my delivery's coming today. I really hope it is. That is all I have for today, and if any of you have OSCEs coming up, exams coming up, I wish you the best of luck. I will see you next week with a new video. If you haven't already, please, please, please subscribe down below. It'll really help my channel out. I'm so close to 600 subscribers. Also, I'm going to leave my Instagram down below. Please go and follow me. I post a lot of vet nursey stuff on there, and also general life as well. And I like to do some quizzes at the moment on my story, and loads of people have really been like getting involved in those, so that's really fun. But yeah, please subscribe, go follow my Instagram, and I will see you guys next week with a new video.